Have you ever noticed that in large corporations, the people who get the most resources aren't always the ones doing the most work? Often, it's the people who look the busiest, promise the biggest things, and somehow keep expanding their scope, even when execution suffers. If you felt frustrated or confused by this, you're not alone. And no, you're not crazy. Today, we're going to explore corporate empire building, why it happens, why it's toxic, and what it reveals about how corporations are actually designed.
Corporate empire building shows up in very concrete ways. Directors and VPs often gain resources not because of the work they produce, but because of how busy they appear. Teams are constantly absorbing other teams' responsibilities, and overpromising becomes a standard tactic. Even when execution falters, those who master visibility continue to thrive, while quiet, focused work gets overlooked. From the outside, this can look irrational. From the inside, it may feel political or even toxic. The truth is that these behaviors aren't random. They are rational responses to the incentives embedded in the system.
One of the most overlooked incentives is how resource allocation drives behavior. In many American corporations, when a manager increases their headcount, their bonus pool and merit or ACR pools increase as well. Suddenly, having more people reporting to you gives you more power to allocate rewards, influence ratings, and gain visibility. Even if the actual work hasn't increased, the system rewards accumulation over execution. Now, imagine a different system where bonus pools and merit allocations are fixed regardless of team size. Hiring more people no longer gives you extra power. It may even dilute your ability to reward top performers. The behaviors we call empire building often emerge naturally under variable resource systems. They are not a reflection of greed. They are a predictable response to incentives. This explains why overpromising becomes common. In environments where saying yes leads to immediate resources and influence, and the downside of failure is delayed or shared, overcommitting is rational. Leaders learn that overpromising now and figuring it out later is often safer than underpromising, even if it increases risk for the team. The system rewards narrative over accuracy and scope accumulation over careful execution.
Because of these incentive structures, overpromising becomes the default behavior. Leaders gain resources, recognition, and influence by appearing ambitious and capable, even if they cannot deliver everything they promise. Meanwhile, accurate, careful planning is often invisible and unrewarded. The upside is immediate, the downside is diffuse. It's a system where confidence beats competence, and bold narratives are more valuable than reliable execution. This is why empire building feels so persistent. It's embedded in the way organizations measure and reward people.
Not every company encourages empire building. Some environments naturally discourage it by aligning incentives with real work and impact rather than visibility or headcount. Small, constrained teams are a perfect example. When resources are limited, leaders can't simply hire more people to increase their influence. Real customer pressure ensures that overpromising is risky because it gets exposed quickly. In these conditions, efficiency, focus, and tangible results are rewarded, and empire-building behavior becomes costly rather than advantageous. Strong individual contributor cultures also minimize this problem. In organizations where prestige doesn't come from team size, deep expertise is valued over controlling an org chart. Leaders are recognized for their technical skill, mentorship, and problem solving, rather than the number of people reporting to them. This shifts the focus from accumulating scope to supporting talent and delivering meaningful outcomes. Profit-transparent or owner-operated units provide another layer of natural checks. In these environments, waste is visible in real numbers, not hidden behind slides or reports. Adding headcount without a clear return on investment is quickly recognized and discouraged. Resource allocation is tied directly to measurable impact, so empire-building behavior offers no real benefit. In all of these environments, feedback loops are tight, misaligned incentives are rare, and empire-building behavior simply doesn't pay off, which is why people act differently, and usually for the better. This explains why overpromising becomes common. In environments where saying yes leads to immediate resources and influence, and the downside of failure is delayed or shared, overcommitting is rational. Leaders learn that overpromising now and figuring it out later is often safer than underpromising, even if it increases risk for the team. The system rewards narrative over accuracy and scope accumulation over careful execution.
If you find yourself in a system that rewards empire building, you still have choices. First, focus on visibility without theatrics. Deliver work that is clear, measurable, and de-risks the team's projects. Second, own depth rather than breadth. Deep expertise is harder to steal than vague, sprawling scope, and it positions you as indispensable. Third, learn to say yes with explicit constraints. Framing commitments as yes if we drop X or extend Y exposes unrealistic expectations without confrontation. Fourth, accept that you can't fix the system alone. These behaviors are baked into incentives, and change only comes when the system itself is redesigned. Finally, decide your personal ceiling intentionally. You can rarely optimize for power, autonomy, and sanity all at once. Choose the combination that aligns with your priorities.
This dynamic exists in many cultures, but it is amplified in the U.S. German and Swiss companies tend to reward conservative commitments and formalized scope. Japan emphasizes group alignment, shame for overpromising, and strict boundaries around responsibilities. China often has top-down authority and rapid execution, which creates different dynamics altogether. The U.S., however, is unusually tolerant of optimistic narratives, weak downside accountability, and the accumulation of resources through visibility rather than output. That's why empire-building behavior feels particularly pervasive here.
If corporate empire building frustrates you, that's usually a sign you understand systems. Once you see it as a design problem, two things happen. You stop blaming individuals, and you make better career decisions. You're not crazy. You're just inside a poorly designed system. If this resonated, leave a comment. What incentive structures have you seen most distort behavior in your organization?